Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Darkwell Sounds titled Who Lit the Flame country pop version. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen here on YouTube, and we're going to listen through it from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it.
Every fire got a spark, every shadow got a name. Yeah. You say you walk the straight and narrow, but they side eye when you pass. Every step's a loaded test, the law just waiting for the crash. Trying to bear your past, but it stacks. Your pain playing loud like a soundtrack. Lit the fire, now you curse the smoke. Breathing deep, but still you choke. You blame the block, curse your fate, but dodge the million. Fear it might break. You say it's the world, but the mirror don't lie. Fighting your shadow, calling it life. Keep dimming the flame, but you hold the match. So who lit it? Who lit the flame? Or dreaming ahead, but missing the breath you're taking instead. Look around who stayed through the storm. Before time fades, rebuild, transform. Your love is a fire, wild and untamed. But you ever ask who sparked that flame? You say it's the world, but it's your name on the glass. You built the fire, now blaming the past. Call it survival, but it feels like shame. So who lit it? Who lit the flame?
It's interesting to have the guitar panning around the sides of the stereo field.
What if peace don't scream? What if silence heals? What if truth don't burn, just reveals? You chase ghosts like they owe you proof, but never turn back to meet your truth. You lit the flame. You lit the flame. Now you curse the burn.
When you lit the flame, now you curse the burn. I kind of dig that line. Really weird tone to the drums and stuff like that. Interesting melody to some of those vocal parts at the end. Kind of dig it. We're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Darkwell Sounds titled Who Lit the Flame, the country pop version. Now, with this review, I've specifically been asked to give a no-holds-barred critique of the lyrics. I'm not a lyric reviewer, I'm a music reviewer. And that's going to sound kind of like I'm being a bit pretentious or pedantic until we consider that I feel like storytelling and the actual performance or quality of music is they're two entirely different things. You can have poetry by itself that is a separate medium to music itself. So I suppose I don't feel as capable of reviewing lyrics as I do of other things, which is part of why with my scoring and rating system I don't give a score to the lyrics. I just feel like it's just too difficult. There's too many variables. For what I will say though, I think if you listen through the track a couple of times and specifically and solely focus on the vocals, you can kind of figure out what this track is about. It's not like it's subtle. It's just more, if you aren't really paying close enough attention, you listen to the parts in the chorus and you kind of need to actively listen to the verse to kind of figure out more specifics to it. You know, there's lines, if I'm not mistaken, like you lit the match, now you curse the flame, which I think infers that it's someone looking at the mistakes they made in the past, not wanting to take responsibility for what they have done in regards to how things have gone down. More simply cursing the fact that there is a problem in the first place. They talk about how there's like ghosts and people are fighting shadows shadows and stuff like that, whilst not really being aware of who's casting the shadow in the first place. And like they talk about being around people being judged and stuff like that, but maybe it's within the person's own head, or maybe the people that are judging them because of the things they've made, that they have justifiable reasons to judge that person for it. It's just a lack of self-awareness on the main sort of, I suppose, antagonist's part. And then there's the final note, they ask who sparked that flame, which makes sense. They're asking a question here. So I suppose if I was to finish my sort of thoughts on the lyrics, I feel like if you had them isolated and only focus those and remove the rest of the music, I think they work well. They explain what's going on. They give the viewpoint of the person telling the story and give a salient case for why the person needs to reevaluate their position and maybe stop lighting fires. Outside of the lyrics, I think that the way that the vocals are sung is, it's effective. There is a sense of kind of like angst with the way that we're singing some of those minor oriented melodies there. And I appreciate what we're trying to do there. I think it's an appropriate way of communicating this situation. It clearly isn't a positive situation to be in when you're watching someone just be self-destructive. So no, it's really good. It's effective. The vocals are effective, and I think that we hit those notes cleanly, and I've got no real complaints about that. We're comfortable in a head just voice, and we go between those ranges really neatly. I think without the expression to lend a sense of credence or sort of mild authenticity to the lyrics, it's just not as effective. I think that the bluesy kind of orient with the guitar parts, especially some of those lead solos, is fantastic. I like the fact that we are dancing not only in a center stereo, but going around the place and doing some interesting things with the panning there. To have several different lead or solo sections, I think, is a nice way to split up this track, even though it's short, because I feel like even if you're not actively listening, you kind of can probably figure out enough of it to kind of be like, okay, I've got the start of the song. There are points of like tension or like points where things pause a little bit and go into that chorus section. Don't get me wrong, structurally it's fine. It's just nice to have, again, that bluesy orient with someone kind of like mourning, again, the lack of self-awareness of the other person who's hurting themselves. I think it's a good balance of some electronic elements with the clicks and the drum kit and like the 808s and stuff, with some of the keys or maybe the organs or something like that to go alongside the guitars. I think there's a nice combination of instruments within this piece as well. It works well, it's effective, and it's nicely structured. I think in general, aside from like some kind of unusual textures on some of the instruments, such as some of the drum parts or the crashes or the guitars there, I feel like most of it is really well captured, and I think in general things are leveled neatly. There's no difficulties hearing stuff within the mix, and I think that it goes down when it needs to, and it rises when it needs to, when it's important to, such as in the hook sections. So ultimately, I think for a review that was more oriented around the lyrics, I feel like I've spoken about the lyrics. I think that there is a bit of wordplay in there as well, which I appreciate, and I think that the way is more conversational is effective. I think that if you'd just been kind of like monologuing at the person, it would have been less kind of like soap. So I think we chose a good tone for that. And ultimately, I think there's going to be an audience that can kind of maybe relate to what's being said there. I think it's open enough that it'll have a wider audience. So ultimately, I just think this is a good track. It's a good track from Darkwell Sounds titled Who Lit the Flame, the country pop version, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with what crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.